A very warm welcome. You are watching 3T TV, Thika's #1 online news channel, where as always we are telling the Thika story as it is. My name is Juliet Modoni and the year is 2022. We are into the second week of January. We are heading into the elections and we have seen temperatures have started rising and a lot of unfortunate incidences and killings have been happening around the country. So today we have decided to come and talk to the professionals so that we get to find out where we as a community have lost our footing and we can get to rectify that. So keep tuned and we hope that by the end of this segment, if you haven't subscribed, we'll give you a good reason to. Let the segment begin. Good morning, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Juliet.
Thank you so much for having us here.
Thank you too.
You have become a regular in our shows.
Thank you.
And we appreciate the time that you give us.
Asante.
For the sake of somebody who is watching for the first time, probably introduce yourself, tell us where we are and what you do.
Wow. My name is Dr. Susan Gitao. I am a counseling psychologist and a lecturer at African Nazarene University. And on the side, I call myself a community servant because I run Susan Gitao Counseling Foundation that supports the less fortunate in the society, mostly the teenage mothers and the students and learners, most significantly from Kiandutu slum, a place where I grew up for 17 good years. And I also receive donations, clothing, household, because there are people who may need the cup that you have in your house and you don't need it, clothes that you don't need anymore, but those clothes somebody can wear and they will feel that their self-esteem is raised. And I also collect school fees. Like you've seen, one of the boys outside there is waiting for school fees to be paid. And so I work with well-wishers who support me to actually support students that in need of school fees. I think in a nutshell, that's me.
You're a woman who wears many hats, very
yeah.
many hats. What really made you want to get into that sector? Before we get into what we want to do, what made you get into counseling, so to speak?
Well, it was my high school teaching experience. I never used to see like the cane alone can be the only way to correct and guide a student. So it's like strongly I felt there's a better way. I grew up in a very violent environment, also a very tough mother, but I was the only one who was never beaten. So I don't know what physical abuse means. Yet when I look at myself today, I'm emotionally stable, intellectually stable. When I compare myself to my siblings, it's like I believed in it. And also as a parent, I said I want to try it. And I have also seen the same in my parenthood. I haven't seen that indiscipline. I haven't seen that violence, I haven't seen that addictive behavior that is negative. And so it's one of the interventions that I believe in. And it's also quite peaceful. Remember, a human being needs to be peaceful, body, mind, and spirit. And I can go to church, but I'm not at peace. I can go to school, I have high grades, but I'm not at peace. You have seen very high-profile intellectual people get into drug abuse or addictive behavior, like gambling, and you're wondering what is taking them there. In most cases, their mental health check is wanting. And so for me, I am a believer that if one is able to regulate the way they think, and mostly dealing with negative thoughts, then they are able to focus very well, even on their vision and dreams in life. And so I think the largest number of people that I have counseled are high schoolers. I'm sure they are clocking over 10,000 since I started doing this, without putting in the groups. And most recently, I have started doing mentorship for young counselors so that I can have a pool. I'm sure you have seen the likes of Paul Wangari and Kagundu Jr. Those are people that I have gone through my hands. I have also mentored some from my university. We have Venus Chengo. We have Rebecca Wamwene. We have many others even doing stuff outside the country. But those ones are basically doing very well on social media as motivational speakers as well. And so I believe in this. This is me, and this is where I live. The other day there was someone that joked and said, "You unataka kusimama, you want to be Thika MP." And I said, I'm going to put something on the wall, and I see people's reactions. But I had to correct that very fast because my calling is not in politics.
Okay.
I think I have invested so much in my education. You know, kusoma vitabu hizi kubwa kubwa hivi, and then you go into politics for 4 or 3 years or so, and then you are never to be remembered, and you don't impact lives the way I would, even as a mental health expert. So if there is anything that I would give to the politicians, I would be happy, so that we don't see the mess that we are seeing around anywhere.
Wow. Now, you've mentioned physical abuse.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why we want to have this conversation today is because we've seen a spate of killings around the country. Young people, even the old. And the most interesting bit about it is that it's a family member to a family member. It's not stranger to stranger. Long time it used to be a stranger probably coming to attack you at your home, but now that is different. From your point of view as a counselor, where have we as a society gone wrong, and what can we do to correct that?
Well, there's a lot of anger that people need to ask themselves, where is this anger coming from? Because you don't just get an adult who knows that the law will catch up with them if they actually commit such atrocities against humanity, goes ahead and does that. So for me, I see a lot of anger, and when you hear of anger, anger can come from many sources. It can come from unfinished businesses, ranging from your childhood experiences, traumatic experiences, and interpersonal relationships. Because people have very high expectations in relationships.
Sure.
Like I get hooked up with you, and I am expecting too much, and sometimes it's unrealistic. If you ever find anyone who says they have fallen in love, and they love someone, and they go ahead and harm that person, it was never there in the first place. And that is a very sick person. So we are having very many sick people hooking up with each other. Maybe I could be looking for a father figure. I could be looking for a financial. And you are looking for love that you never found. You have gaps. You could be a grown-up man, but you're feeling very empty in the inside. You could be having a lot of money, you're feeling very empty. Not forgetting the issue of drugs and substance abuse. Because if you're also a substance abuser, whether you're using bangi, heroin, cocaine, a lot of alcohol, and your brain is not wired for that, there is a likelihood that your mental capacity is also disorganized. And so you can find people who are very okay when they are sober, or when they have used these substances, they are no longer thinking the same way. And so them and the people in Mathari Mental Hospital are equally the same. And so I would like to say people don't know each other very well when they're getting into relationships. And when you find yourself jumping into a relationship so fast, what is it that you're trying to fill in? What is that emptiness? When I get to meet you, Juliet, and I don't even know you, I accept gifts you're giving me, I need to question. So in our days, when I say our days, there are a couple of years passed by. You could not even buy me andazi. I will question, why are you buying me? I could not even receive your money, because why are you giving me that money? But today, it's if somebody is willing to give me money, keep me well, and maybe I grew up in poverty, and this is gonna change my life,
Sure.
I just jump into it. But I don't know whether this person is equally sick. What is it that they are looking for? Because if you look at the behavior of most narcissists, they are very good at luring people into their hood. And once you get into their hood, that's it. It's very difficult for you to leave. And the minute you try to leave, they will get rid of you. Equally with psychopaths and sociopaths. You know, sociopaths are people that I say are mentally unwell, but they have been created by the environment. Like growing up in a very violent environment, You go to the family level, it's violent. Community is violent. Where you go to work, violent, you know. And then we have the psychopaths. Those ones, mainly it's genetic. Where you can find, like, in that family or that clan, yani they are murderers. Yeah, or they are people who've done heinous acts to their loved ones, like cutting off their arms, their wrists, and you're like, hey, really, it happens? And they are blood related. So it's always good for people to go back to the roots, but in a smart way. Long time ago, you could not relate with someone and without your parents or your relatives knowing. They would tell you about that person. But today, we are in urban settings. It's very difficult for one to find out a lot about someone. But what I tell people, just go slowly. Don't go very quickly into a relationship. Because within a month, and especially for adults over 30 years, you can easily get to know the character of a person. And people also don't know people with anger. Because someone with anger, you can tell the way they talk, or they get upset very quickly. Maybe you have agreed to meet at a certain place and you don't come at that time, and they're pretty angry, or they have left before you have even arrived. Or they don't want you to be with friends. People are not able to read these signs and symptoms of someone who is likely to harm you, because you are overshadowed by their charm. So for me, I would say there's ignorance of getting to know who is this person that I'm dating, who is this person that I'm sharing my life with, right? And people also hide.
They do.
You can find someone who is married and getting into a relationship with someone, and they don't know. In this office of mine, especially those children and teenagers I have told you I take care of, right? You'll be so shocked that I'm able to connect them with their parents who are elsewhere, very comfortably living in other families, but never tell in those families they ever had children. And then this is your own blood. Tell me, how are people able to live in peace with all this truth deep within themselves? So those are some of the people, because of the deep-seated secrets. They have anger that you don't know where it's coming from. We also have people living with secrets in their lives that are not worth keeping. And so it means the system is not settled. So you can imagine, probably, if you are a married man, you get into a relationship with a young lady, and she doesn't know you're married. And then one day she discovers, and that was never in her dream, to be in a relationship with a married person.
Yes.
So they try to leave. It is not one case or 10 cases I have encountered here. And the other person now says, no, I have invested so much in you. So tell me, keeping such secrets, is that person really functional? Is that person really normal? And you know, the law in this country allows them to be polygamous if they so wish.
Yes.
Yeah? So you even ask yourself, what is it? So it's a high time, I think, people had candid talks. If you're marrying a second wife, tell your first wife. If she wants to leave, she will leave. If she wants to stay, she will stay. Tell the person you are hooking up with that you're married as well. So if they want to live with you, they live with you knowing that you're married and they're coming in as a second wife. There can be peace. So these secrets are also contributing. These love triangles are not really doing us good. Yeah.
So now, what are some of the red flags that, or warning signs that someone can see when you're in a relationship and you can tell this gentleman or this lady is violent?
One, it's the way they talk. You're not going to tell me you love me and you call me all the names in this world that dehumanize me. Second is shouting. People who love each other. You know, love language. It's not about shouting.
Sure.
The other one is embarrassing someone in public. Talking to them in public the way you want. That person will do anything to you. The other one is someone who keeps belittling you. Anything you do, they're bringing you down. And you're like, wow, it's like you forgot who you were in your entire life since you met them. Because they're always criticizing you, criticizing what you do, criticizing your friends. Because at the end of the day, what they are doing is they want to leave you with them alone.
Sure.
So the day they'll ever harm you, you will have nowhere to run. The other thing is somebody who makes sure that you don't become independent. They want you to be dependent on them with everything. Everything. That is suffocating someone. The other thing is when somebody keeps singing to you what they've done for you. You know, that I've done this and this for you. Just know. And you know, at times I laugh because I ask, where is the maturity in relationships? Because you have seen people, someone buys you a gift, and when you guys are not in a good relationship, you say, bring your gift, bring my gift.
Yeah.
I have seen women, their cars withdrawn by their husbands.
Yeah.
I have seen boyfriends and girlfriends do the same. I have seen even people who've been in long marital relationship. Somebody says you're not going to stay in my house, and that person has their children, for example. So it's important to know anybody who doesn't want you to be independent is likely to harm you. Because if you love someone, that old saying is still true. Set them free. If they ever come back to you, they were meant to be yours. If they didn't, why are you struggling? So I also see people in this life who struggle a lot for love. And let me tell you, it is very paradoxical. How do I say you are being part of me makes me happy? And if you're not there, I am not happy. What does that tell you, Juliet? That we don't know how to love ourselves.
Yes.
So if you also find somebody who will neglect themselves at the expense of you being their partner, that person is dangerous to you as well. Somebody who keeps telling you, you know, I don't even go buy myself good clothes because of you. That's an abuser. So you're manipulating me. Yet, how many, especially young people, the young ladies, and I would really want to appeal to them in a very big way. Young men, the number is still rising, where they are getting hooked by old ladies. But for the ladies, the number is still very, very high. Young ladies, especially hooking up with people who are married, so much mature than you. Someone who is 5 years older than you, you need to start thinking smart. What do you really want? And especially if you are below the age of 25 years. For male and even for females, below the age of 25. Because you haven't engaged in many relationships to have some experience. And that is what you find. You find someone is actually relating with an older person, and they think this older person is stupid. Because they are buying you everything you want, they are taking you everywhere you want to go. What are they after? And do you know what they are after? So it's important that people get to know also someone who like pushes you. Like you're having a small argument, they are pushing you, or you go out somewhere and you get into some argument and they're actually dragging you out. Even if they are telling you, twende tukaongelee nyumbani, they are pushing you into the car. That's an abuser. It's a very serious red flag that one needs to read. Any push, even if it's during dating, it means a lot. You cannot love me and you treat me badly, even when we are dating. It's going to be worse in marriage.
I agree. You've mentioned something very important, self-love.
Yeah.
Now, does true love really exist?
I would say no, from where I sit. And especially with the experiences of some of us with our naivety when we thought we were loving truly. And you're like, oh, I'm doing it the way it ought to be done. It's even biblical. The thing I would say, true love is commitment.
Okay.
And when I talk about commitment, is commitment to transparency, commitment to care for you, herself, and the other person, commitment to be very accountable in everything you do, commitment to the status quo. Because if I'm committed to you, Juliet, whether you have money or not, I will stick with you. And guess what? With time, the couples that have gone through thick and thin, even when they had nothing at all, one day they start singing of plenty. So if I are committed to you, it's just the way you are. So if that is what we can say now true love is, it is. You can get sick. I didn't get you when you are sick,
Yes.
but I'm still committed to you. You didn't have children, but now you have 5 children, I'm still committed to you. So if people can talk about commitment and sacrifice to some extent, because there are certain situations that can happen in a relationship that would call for someone to sacrifice, then I would call that true love. Commitment and sacrifice. But it's not this lovey-dovey feeling that, oh, I can't even sleep without you, oh, I can't even have peace before knowing where you are and what you're doing. That is obsession. And it's also good for people to know the personality types. If you ever get a personality type that has OCD, OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. And we have those personality types, or even paranoid personalities, or even the schizotypal or schizoid. You know, the people you can say they are mentally not okay. But how many people are able to read those signs? So people need to be more alert than ever. Yeah, and there's so many things you can start telling about someone, especially when you say you love me and keeping so many secrets from me. Yeah, or you are staying where I don't know where you are. You're not telling me what you do. There are people who stay with people and they don't even know their job.
Sure.
Yeah, and he just tells me, hiyo si muhimu kujua, and you are there with this person, you don't even know what they do. Honestly speaking, and you tell me that could be love, even if they are buying me anything that I would wish in the world. So I think for me, I would say there is really nothing like true love. The only true love is when you love yourself without shortchanging yourself, second guessing yourself, or the love of God. Because for me, I believe there is a God in heaven.
Amen.
And when you love God, truly,
Yes.
there is a very high probability you also love yourself. And you are alive to know Him. Because what I see people need to enhance more in themselves is what is called mindful self-compassion. Like you can get inward, accept you are a faulty person. You are a person that can err. And because of that, another one can. That melts your heart to accepting yourself as a limited person and accepting other people as limited. If we go that journey with all the genuineness,
Yes.
then we are going to be a very compassionate community. Very compassionate relationships will develop, very compassionate family relationships will develop, and of course the larger society.
Yes.
I wish I could preach and execute compassion to everyone. People can know compassion goes beyond what we call that true love. It is about action, and action to bring some change and positive change in everyone.
Now, the last one before we get to another topic. Although you've thrown a spanner into the works and talked about commitment and not love,
Yeah.
what is the difference between love and lust? People don't quite understand. There's a thin line between there and people get a bit confused.
Well, I want to say lust exists because it's physical. That is physical, mostly physical attraction, where you feel you want to be near Juliet, you want to hug her, you want to keep holding her hands, and everything you really want in your life is just Juliet until you lose your mind, because it's either you and Juliet or you and no one else.
Yeah.
And so in this case, when you talk about now love, love grows. And if we are going to talk about that true love that I have told you, for me, I would define it as sacrifice and commitment. You cannot just commit to me and you have met me day one. It's going to be a journey. And I think most people are not patient. You don't want to walk a journey. Most men that I have encountered that are married, their wives, and they are happy with them, they have very interesting stories. They will even tell you they used to see her. Because me, I'm still on that premise, the foundation, that is so natural,
Yes.
and it's godly. It's the man who sees her first. It can never be the other way around. It can never be the other way around. If it's the other way around, expect problems. Expect problems. And so you will hear men saying they used to see her, maybe even going to school, going to fetch water for those people who live where they fetch water. Going maybe to church, and they just used to like something about that person. But along the way, they would say, there are men who say, if she's mine, and they are there, and they are happily married, if she's mine, then one day God will create a way. They were maybe even terrified, very shy, but at the end of the day, they got together in that divine connection. And they have remained committed to that person. And they have grown together. And there is no way, if that is what you'd call true love, that you will never prosper together. Never. Never. And because I'm a believer, if only people would be a little bit patient, don't rush things,
Sure.
you will enjoy the beauty of now what people call love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for demystifying that. Now, we have seen a spate of violence that is happening all over. Do you feel that there is a gap, there's a parenting gap? Is there a failure when it comes to parents and guardians, more so the people who are supposed to be guiding these young people, that is leading to the violence?
Yeah, me, I would say so. Why am I saying this? Because I have actually seen even the situations that I have encountered here of young couples fighting, violating each other. There is a gap in parenting. And that is why I would say, should there be that chance that every parent is a safe parent? When I say safe, that your child feels safe with you. Automatically, they develop that secure attachment. In fact, there are studies that also reveal for children who don't have parents, and they identify a figure, whether it is a living figure, whether male or female, or God, because we do have very many orphans that know only God is their father and their mother. And they have that secure attachment with that figure. They are likely to love in a functional way. So for me, there is a lot of emptiness in people, and the biggest contributor are parents. And so I appeal to parents to love their children. When I say love, I'm not saying spoiling them, but being present. Let them share with you their worries. Let them share with you their insecurities. In that way, they will learn that is the way things are supposed to be in life. Then teach them that in the world, they may not meet people like them.
Sure.
Because now that's where now my work comes in. Trauma. You find someone who was brought up very well, very functional. They did not know how to read the other side. They need to also be informed that you can meet someone with a lot of emptiness. How do I deal with them? Because if I really love them and I'm committed to living with them, then I need to know how to live with them, because I am from the school of thought that if I grew up in a dysfunctional family and you have loved one or two things about me, and you are committed to being with me, and we are very open to each other, I can tell you everything about myself. And in that case, if you really are ready to sacrifice and committed to stay with me that way, you will find we exchange energies. And so the person who grew up without knowing love can also know love from their partner.
Yes.
But how many people are willing to walk that journey? And how many people are aware? Because to me, the awareness is key. There are people I have told here, you are marrying a lastborn. And you are marrying a lastborn who has always been given what they want. So are you ready? And then I say, you are a lastborn. You've always gotten everything you wanted. Do you think this one is going to give you all what you've been looking for? You know? So how are we going to move forward? The awareness, we actually say, is the heartbeat of therapy. How many people are aware? So for me, I would speak more of if we are aware and accept that very many children have grown up without love. So we should have education running. And me, I've always found the school environment as the most appropriate. Why? Because every child must go to school. So if the teachers can also be made to be safe objects for the children, they change. They will love because the teacher has loved them. But if the teacher is also empty, they are also extending the same emptiness. So for me, psychoeducation, this is education that we say changes the mindset, should be encouraged from early childhood all the way to university level. And in universities, we should bring back family education. I don't know whether Egerton still does family education, because most of the graduates from Egerton University used to go through that family life. I don't know whether we still have that anymore. Because I think we mostly talk about HIV nowadays.
Yes.
We are not telling people how to relate. And yet there is someone who grew up from an environment, they don't know what you're talking about. In fact, all they know what love is that physical attraction. And if it's not there, there is no love for them. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. That's quite a lot to digest. Thank you very much for your time. This has been an absolutely informative segment.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Susan Gitau, who is a mental health champion. The best lesson that I have picked from today is about self-love. If you love yourself and you know how to be by yourself, then you will be able to extend that love to other people. Don't forget, you are watching 3T TV. My name is Juliet Modoni. Till next time, take care.